Morning everybody, just do a little video on a wet Saturday morning. Wanted to do a little video whilst it's still pretty raw, and obviously the following on from what Pete did his video on last week. So yesterday we had to make that awful decision of letting one of our dogs go. Pretty unexpected. He was poorly a few months ago and seemed to make a full recovery, and then out of nowhere he just went downhill, and we expected him to make a recovery again, and it just didn't happen. And we looked after him for 3 days in hope that, well, it wasn't 3 days in the end, but we hoped that we'd see some kind of change in him and that he'd bounce back, but he didn't. And we'd booked him with a vet, a euthanasia vet that comes out to the house, which is how we normally do it. But sadly this time he was suffering too much, so we had to, middle of the night, take him to a normal vet's, which just shows the gap. There's still a gap in that market. These vets need to be realising that people want to be able to call in the middle of the night and have somebody come out to their home and do it. It's really difficult to get a practice vet to come out to your home to put a dog to sleep. Dizzee was 72 kilos, and when you're already in a very, very, very emotional state and you're tired because you've not slept for 2 days, and then you're trying to get a 72 kilo dog into the car, just makes everything that more stressful. But thankfully he was so out of it, he was in such a state at that point that I don't even think he knew what was going on. I truly don't think he knew at all. And hats off to the vet, she didn't mess around. She did exactly what we asked. We asked her to do it in the car so that we didn't have to move him again, and she did. Come on, you two. Ray? No? Come on. But yeah, it's probably the most difficult thing that you do. And funnily enough, a friend of mine rang me this morning, and not somebody that I'm friends with through dogs. It's just somebody that I know that's got dogs, and he was ringing me with the same question: when is it time? That's the tough question that needs answering. And there's only you that can answer that. Could Dizzee have gone on for a few more days? Probably not. I think he would have died of his own accord, but watching him suffer was horrendous. So you do things as quickly as possible to end that suffering. Have we had dogs that could have gone on a little bit longer? Yeah, definitely. But were they in pain? Yeah, they were. So we make that decision for them. And there's only us that gets to make that decision. They can't speak, they can't tell us when it's time. And, so we have to make that decision for them. But what people don't prepare you for afterwards is the guilt. Waiting too long, guilty. Doing it too soon, guilty. That's the feeling all the time. Initially. Because it's still fresh. And it's the guilt of wishing that you'd done things quicker, wishing that you had hindsight and you could see that they're not going to get better, hoping they're going to get better, but when they don't, the guilt that you feel from that, it's really, really, really difficult. Ray, come baby. We like to put them to sleep at home so all the other dogs can kind of see that they're not here anymore, they come and they smell them and they lick them and then they just walk away. You know, they just know that that's it. It's done. And we get to live in the guilt. We get to live in that feeling for a while. It doesn't last, but it does cause quite a bit of distress to us. I think with ours yesterday though, because he'd been so poorly, I think they knew that, they already knew. Nobody had tried to bother him. They'd kind of gone over and had a little sniff of him, and when, you know, they've not been in distress since. Normally, in the past when we've took him to the vets to be put to sleep, we've come home and we've had some kind of turbulence in the house because they don't know what's happened. It's just one of the pack has gone and, you know, they don't really understand it. And that's why we switched to home euthanasia, because it's just easier on the other dogs. And every time we've done it since then at home, you know, we've not had any kind of issues in the pack. Poor little Ray, it's his first stressful scenario to have been in with the other dogs, and he was a little bit upset because he didn't really understand what was going on. But he did leave Dizzee alone, bless him. He did give him a wide berth. But yeah, it's whilst it's fresh, I wanted to kind of hit on it, because afterwards, when things settle down, you don't have these feelings of intense guilt, and I think it's something that people don't prepare for. You can be grieving as much as the next person, but the guilt is the thing that gets to you. Even though it was done out of good intention, it still is an issue. For the first at least a few days, and you've just got to keep in the mindset that it does go away. It doesn't last forever. You know, and you know deep down that anything that you've done in that moment, and any time that you feel was wrong, it's not from a place of wanting them to suffer or to be in a bad situation. It's, oh my Lord, it's because you loved them and you were hoping that they were going to get better. You're wishing they're going to get better, you know. And I'm pretty sure that our dogs know that. And to be fair, Dizzee was very, very, very peaceful up until those final moments. He really was. He wasn't in distress. There was nothing to make me think he was suffering at all. He just didn't have any energy. Come on, guys, out of there. Nelly, Ray, come on, let's go. Nelly. Come on, Ray. Come on then. Nelly, come on. Nelly. 50 times. Nelly. Come on. Honestly. She's so insolent at times. Come on. Nelly. He will get stuck under machinery. Come on, babies. Come on. Yeah. Oh, so, yeah. Horrific time for us particularly. The other dogs don't seem too bothered by it. They knew what was going on and accepted it pretty well. It's just us that suffer. But, you know, Dizzee was 8.5. And he was a big boy, you know. Bigger they are, tends to be that they don't live as long. But he was, you know, we could 8.5 years with him. And he was never poorly in those 8.5 years up until this last, probably, 2 months. 2 months he's been poorly. But he hasn't even been poorly for those 2 months. He had one bout where, with his back leg, and then had a reaction to anaesthetic, which, gave him this issue with his heart, and then got over that, and I don't even know what happened to him. I don't know. Really don't. But he wasn't surviving it. And yeah, Dizzee is the last male left out of that litter. All of the others have passed away. Come on, babies, let's go down this end. All of the others have passed away, and there's one sister still alive, old Minnie. And our Dizzee was out of our Drina and Drake litter, so our second litter. We lost his sister 8 months ago. Is it 8 months? I don't really think it's 8 months. 7 months, something like that. And they were so bonded, we didn't think he'd last much longer after her anyway. It's hard for them to live without each other when they're so bonded. So he did well. But he was my very, very special boy. I wouldn't say he's my favourite, because you shouldn't have favourites. But he was definitely very special to both of us, but particularly to me. He was such a bad dog. He was so naughty. But I loved him for it, because he was such a character. So yeah, end of an era, really, for us. We've got the other two oldies left, Pier and Mace, who are a little bit older than Diz. And time ticks on with them. Their parents were long-living dogs, thankfully. So hopefully we've got another few years with those two yet before there's an issue, but you just never know. And that's the problem with this breed, is they hide everything so well. They can be in the worst pain and they won't show it until they're at a point where it's too late, like the damage is done. And I truly do believe that that's why a lot of them die young. I do believe that if they just showed their symptoms a little bit better, some of them could have longer lives, because they could be, medicated, or, whatever would have helped. But they just don't, they're such a stoic breed. They don't tell anyone that they don't feel well. You'd never guess it. They'll still do everything as normal, and then until it gets to the point where their body gives up, and then it's too late. There's kind of no coming back from it, especially if they're getting into a depression with it. And it's the sad part of this breed. You can have a normal day, like we did Tuesday. Tuesday was a normal day. Dizzee was completely normal. Then come Wednesday, he wasn't. And he wouldn't get up. That's how it goes with this breed. Anyway, I haven't cried in this video, so that's a blessing. Just wanted to kind of update people and kind of give it from the heart, rather than it being a video where it's just words when they don't mean anything. But right now, obviously, it means everything. So, yeah. Hopefully the next video will be a lot more positive. When I get these two inside, we've got customers turning up to pick up their wreaths today, so have a cup of tea with my father-in-law to be. And then later on today, we go and pick Dizzee up from the crematorium, and he comes home for the night. And then tomorrow, we will spread him with the rest of his family. of our other dogs up in our special place in the secret garden. And then, yeah. Right. Come on. And then we try and heal. Anyway, have a lovely weekend. Bye.